we can, right from here, celebrate our scientists, and like you said, they are doing a good job out there. And well, as we move towards promoting science, then we have to find a way of motivating them in any way. Well, viewers, we come back to politics and issues of democracy. But before we go into our discussion, Richard, one quick comment on the international scene. The call that came through from the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, and they had discussions with His Excellency the President at a time when actually the UN General Assembly is passing a resolution against or condemning the invasion of Ukraine. And Uganda again votes, abstains from the vote at the UN General Assembly. I don't know what you pick from all those developments in just 1 minute. Your comment.
I do not know what the real effect of such a UN General Assembly resolution means.
Actually, it's not the first
for anybody
since the war began.
If you look at the UN General Assembly resolutions condemning Israel in the Palestinian question, what impact has it been? Israel has continued to annex lands, to kill and to maim and to do everything. So as far as I'm concerned, the UN General Assembly resolution has, in my view, residual value. And so the chest thumping is not so much. That's the other thing is the call that you talk about of Zelensky to His Excellency President Museveni. President Zelensky did this for tens of presidents, trying to move the countries to vote in this. It has a psychological, I think largely it has a psychological and symbolic value. So President Museveni was one. But I think what President Museveni did very creatively was to drive the conversations towards peace. Peace efforts. President Zelensky has presented a peace proposal to the UN. But when you look at the demands before peace efforts are initiated, I don't think it means anything.
They are inappropriate.
They are too unrealistic. They are too extreme. So I think for me the war in Ukraine is a war of ideology. It is a war of economics. Yeah, it is a war of supremacy, really. And until there is adequate pain between the two.
That's what we say.
The two sides, yes. Then they will sit down and talk. As for now, you see Zelensky, I am not sure how clever he is. In my mind, I don't think he's very clever. He set up,
but he has managed to.
He set up his country.
The whole West.
No, he's not running them. He's not running them. They are the ones running him. He has set up his country to be the one, because it could have been Georgia, it could have been Kazakhstan, it could have been
Russia's neighbors.
Yes, but he has set up his country to be the one, to be the experimental, literally guinea pig. And half the population has drained out. The elite and the ones who have, they are not going to come back. Probably more than 50–60% of the infrastructure, unless there is a Marshall Plan, like was in Germany after the World War. I think he's done bad for his country. He has set it up really to be punched.
He has set up a theater, theater for superpowers.
Yeah, for superpowers and for contestation about resources. Because you see, if you see the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline that was taking gas to Europe, it means that now the US becomes the supplier for it's economic, the economic advantages. So for me, to allow that my country is the one that is used for those games, I don't think it's very clever.
Anyway, let's wait and see how that works out. And again, we can also, in our big stories, look at the police annual crime report, which was released this week. And during the release of the annual crime report in Naguru, the IGP, Martin Zokotho Chola, highlighted the fact that the crime rate has shot up by 18%. I think it's a matter of concern there. Traffic offences, the car thefts, and all that. A comment, and the IGP attributed this rise to the reopening of the economy. That many people now are moving around and it's becoming, I mean, the crime is going high.
I think the crime report is usually a highlight for the media, and usually the crime occurrence doesn't go down.
Oh
no, you don't find a report. I'm not even sure it's only in Uganda. I think even elsewhere.
We cannot.
Crime occurrence doesn't go down. Obviously, the population is increasing. There is more contestation for resources. There is less concentration by the police, the mainstream police. There is increased interference by all kinds of groups, official, semi-official, sub-official, that also claim to be enforcing law by breaking it, many of them, and demoralizing the usual traditional law enforcement. So they also step back. But I also think there has been a development, I think, in the police force, at the risk of alienating my friends and colleagues. I think there is a development that the top leadership of the police has become armchair.
Really?
Yeah, I think there is less, you see less field activity. Yes, engagements by the top police leadership, and the top, is not just the Inspector General.
You seem now to prefer the General Kaihura way of being in community, the IGP and talking to being in communities every time.
But you see, General Kaihura, General Okech, I think that is very useful. You see, that also builds the capacity, the morale, confidence of the lower units. The lower units get a lot of intimidation by local guys, local politicians, and people who are connected to especially Plot 1, but even those who claim to be connected to Plot 1. Now you need an IGP, a deputy IGP, the director of operations, to be in the field to stem and also stem this tide of criminality that is that people, some of them are truly connected, but a lot of them are pretenders. And you can see this. You see, we need also to delve into the statistics. You can see this in the behaviors of the people, the increasing number of people who are perceived as untouchable. One is in the road safety. You can see the increasing number. Now, when you see the people who break the law, they either think they are protected, or indeed they are protected, or they are government number plates, or there are a lot of civilian cars, but either there will be a uniformed band or an armed person in civilian clothes. And so all the other road users start taking this impunity. I keep talking about impunity here. And it's promoted by the people who have power, or residual, or real, and you can see that. The second thing, where I think the highest number, the highest increase, is again where these same impunity guys operate. The guys who are either connected or claim to be connected. It is in grabbing of property and land. That, I think, has had the highest. And this is where the same guys operate. So you see the governance question, the pervasiveness of impunity, and the admissiveness of the system to that impunity, the allowing of people who have connections, or those who claim to have connections or represent them, to go untouched, to intimidate the law enforcement organs, to deploy shadowy, individuals and groups. That you can see that in the trends of the criminality. So those are the ones that drive the increase
of crime,
the overall average increase of crime in the country. And I keep repeating this. I can't get tired, that the impunity we are promoting or letting pass by a commission or non-action, I think we cannot escape it. Ultimately, it engulfs all of us.
I was really concerned by your assertion that crime will always go high, and I don't know if or what that means in enforcement and the big budgets we push or we pump into security and defense. Isn't there a way how we can manage crime and then we see a downward trend in crime rates? Is it possible anyway?
Like for example, the larger increases where you have traffic related or where you have property and land blatant grabbing, where you have these things, they certainly can be tackled. Yeah, they certainly can be tackled. It's first the shift in the way the thinking really around this and the attitude around this. I think they can be managed. There are some resources that go in there. There could be more resources that could go there, but also the resources that go there, how do they get utilized? That is also the other thing, and that's part of the other impunity and permissiveness to wrongdoing, the abuse, misuse, also misdeployment of resources. So in the context in which we are, it is difficult to have the confidence that crime will go down. It's very difficult.
But with all the new innovations, we have installed CCTV cameras in some cases, mainly urban areas. We have now several units, specialized units within the security forces to curb crime, and even we have the budgets must have improved. These budgets that go for enforcement and managing crime. I don't know if it's all in vain.
It isn't.
If we cannot.
No, it isn't in vain.
Reduce the rate
no,
of
it isn't
crime.
in vain. It means that perhaps things would be a lot worse.
Really?
Yeah. So certainly, the initiatives that have been taken have brought some results.
We actually introducing digital number plates also in that line of security.
Yeah. But in the current context, the way these things are governed.
We have done. Is it gun fingerprinting?
Yeah. And that very excellent innovations. Excellent. But if people are confident and demonstrate that they can act with impunity and repetitively, the people who are supposed to put these initiatives in place get abused, get stopped, get interfered with, lies get told about them, and they get consequences. They will step back. They will step back, and we see this happening. And so in that context, it is difficult to see how the improvements, the outcomes that we expect to get out of these investments will happen.
Okay.
Yes, because the governance attitude, those factors must, because ultimately it's the human being that puts this together, coordinates it, and ensures it delivers the outcomes. Yeah.
All right, and finally, as we conclude the big stories of the week, and when we roll into our usual discussions about politics, elections, and all that, Richard, you and others made a commitment to scale up nutrition in the line of breastfeeding and vitamin A intake and others. You have at least 3 minutes or 4 minutes to talk about it. I think it's a...
No, thank you very much. No, thank you very much. You see, we are talking about security. One of the other critical things that are important for human beings is food and nutrition security. Very critical. That's why when people ask what are generals doing in food production and what, yes, because it's a security issue. So for us, it is about having a population that has optimal output and can defend and secure itself. And it's not just about guns. It's also about having the brains, the adequate brains, to defend the agreements that we sign.
What exactly did you do this week?
You see, what we did is we brought together civil society players to sign a declaration of commitment that they are going to prioritize breastfeeding, vitamin A, and iron intake. Vitamin A and iron intake for the mothers in the age group of production, in reproductive age, but especially those who are pregnant and the children. And this is why we do it, Apollo. You see, the most important foundation for human life is proper feeding. And that feeding was provided by God, by nature, in a female's mammary glands. We call them breasts. That is where you find the most important nourishment for a human being. And it's like constructing a structure. The most important setup of the structure is the foundation. Yeah. If the foundation is weak, the structure is in danger. So that's why breastfeeding and having proper vitamins for a child and their mother who is looking after them is critical. One of the reasons we think, personally, and my colleagues, that we don't have the proper output of a Ugandan population. You see, you hear people say, but you see Ugandan graduates, you see Ugandan. If you have 30% of your children who are malnourished, stunted or whatever, it means you are going to have 30% of your adults stunted or unproductive. That is why we think that it is critical that we have the breastfeeding, and because the Ugandan statistics show us that our breastfeeding levels are very low. So when we are fighting, we are actually fighting for an optimal Ugandan population that can defend the country and propel it to development.
So what exactly do you hope to achieve from these engagements? And because, like you say, that we do not recognize and motivate scientists or innovators in this country, I think nutrition is also another topic that has not been given much attention, possibly.
Yes, yes, and it's because we have no adequate sensitization, information, and understanding. So we hope that with all these civil society organizations coming together, because we have an umbrella, the Civil Society Alliance for Nutrition in Uganda, which I convene, we think that under that umbrella, we can have the media, we can have the social media, we can have all civil society organizations. It doesn't matter where you are, whether it's academia or human rights or finances, emphasize in their programming budgets and plans and in their working for advocacy and with communities, they can raise the bar of how Ugandans feed and feed properly, how our babies are nourished, so that then the entire population can understand. For example, that Apollo, when you are leaving home as a man, you are conscious that your wife needs support when they are breastfeeding. So when you leave Kameza money, you are also thinking about breastfeeding. If we can achieve this 100% understanding in the population of the importance of breastfeeding, then that means our population, right from 0 days, they are going to be healthy and fit for purpose.
Thank you so much, and I think that's very important. When we talk about human capital development, as it is prioritized in our national budgets,
or the national plans, yes,
we should also think about how we can do it right away from zero birth, 0 years, from birth to not to ambush people at 15 or when they are teenagers, and what, and you think you'll develop.
I think it's too late.
It could be too late. It's time to prioritize nutrition, prioritize breastfeeding and intake of those important and necessary vitamins.
Yes.
My name is Simapolo. I now go for a break, and when we return, the dialogue will be looking at the SERERE by-elections. And at one point, tempers flared, not only between the NRM and the opposition, but even within the NRM. I saw Dr. Tango Doi, the chairperson of the NRM Electoral Commission, choosing his bosses for running away from the NRM principles, and you somehow think there is a problem. There must be a problem even in the ruling party, and it's not all well even within the opposition. You thought that probably it was Ali Salasso's time, the NT candidate, to bounce back to parliament, but it did not work out. She came third in that race. There are many things we can look into that race, and probably what exactly are we, or how we are moving towards democracy. I don't think opposition this time are finding it easy to win a by-election. It's becoming extremely difficult for the opposition to win a by-election in Uganda. I don't know. This is the dialogue. My name is Simapolo. Richard Baguma Tinkasimire, a communication specialist, is in the studios. And we have been joined by Mwai Ibrahim, a political activist, and looking at the big events in the week. The SERERE by-election. The NRM flag bearer did not make it. The independent candidate, Omoding Emmanuel, was declared winner in that election. The another independent candidate followed there in the line, Owucho Philip. No, NRM candidate came second. I'm sorry for that. The NRM flag bearer came second, and of course Ali Salasso, the Alliance for National Transformation candidate, came third. Ongrucho Martin came fourth, and Elatu Emmanuel, the FDC flag bearer, came last in that election. But we'll not go into the details of the results, but looking at the events that played out in this particular by-election, possibly we may think that the opposition may not soon win by-elections, and looking at the trends. I don't know how the panel will look at it, but it looks like it's becoming extremely difficult for the opposition to win by-elections. Starting from Kayunga by-election, LC5 by-election, then we go to Amuru, we go to Gogonyo, we go to Soroti East, and several others. The opposition have not really made it. It's another issue we can look into. But the contradictions within the NRM itself, the ruling party, after losing this election with the Honorable Mike Mukula, NRM Vice Chairman for the Eastern, being chosen for supporting a candidate who is not the flag bearer of the party. And I saw Dr. Tango Doi saying the party is going to crack the whip. It shows that possibly the NRM party is not also at peace within its ranks. And I'll start with Mwai Ibrahim, because Mwai is a political activist. I don't know what you think about this election. You can greet your viewers and then go straight to the topic for discussion.
Thank you very much, Apollo. Good morning, our viewers. I'm glad to be joining you, and I apologize for having joined you a bit late. Our roads can choose to be to make someone miserable sometimes.
It's understandable.
you said that it will be hard for the opposition to win by elections. You try to paint a picture that there is an ideological thinking behind the elections in this country. I have always disagreed with that position. It only becomes coincidental that a person whom the people like also belongs to a certain party. The 20 plus years of individual merit in this country is still entrenched in the fabric of the electorate in this country. So people in Uganda don't vote parties or ideologies. They will like an individual. If that individual is in a particular party, they vote for him. We have a track record that all across by-elections where we have had a parent die, the son or daughter of the deceased in most cases will come out victor, because there will be some kind of compassionate voice, some kind of compensatory sympathy vote. Yeah, that is the word I was looking for. So we saw it in Kamuli when the late Honorable Hajati Watongola, we saw it with the son of the speaker. But even longer before that, it started, I think, with JB here in Mpiji. This constituency. Yeah, the late JB, then his son JB became one MP. They were both of DP. That was around the 9th parliament, I think. Balikudembe, yes. So the son of an incumbent will always have an upper hand in any election where the deceased. Even we saw in somewhere in Buyende where the brother of the late Balikowa was voted to replace him when he, so a close relative will get that sympathy. What the voices that came out from the NRM are really bothering. Tango Doi, doctor, a big academician, is magnetic for conflict. He has magnetism for conflict. We have seen with the Makerere convocation. We have seen within the NRM setup before. He has been a magnetic force for conflict wherever he is. And the statements he came up with saying we are going to wield the whip, and the whip on who? the whip on who?
About the NRM vice chairman.
The NRM vice chairman supporting an incumbent talks a lot about the transparency that was involved in selecting the flag bearer. Okay. So you don't step on people's toes when you are selecting a flag bearer and you think that you will just come down and use your authority and your office to force them to support that flag bearer when you didn't follow proper channels in selecting the flag bearer. So this shows that there was a problem in selecting the NRM flag bearer for SERERE. Then the opposition you talk about, there was something positive for the opposition coming out of this election, because it is, I think, the first by-election this year where they have all come out united to say we are fronting one candidate.
No, it was not a joint candidate.
Not all.
He was not. He was, FDC had a candidate in that case. Emmanuel Elatu.
At first I say press conference where they were declaring that
NUP decided to ally with the NT, and that is why Robert Sentem Chogranyi
went and campaigned for SERERE. So that semblance of unity, that semblance of support has not been seen. We saw it in Kayunga, but it was not that strong. So people in Uganda, the point I started with is we like an individual. Whatever party that individual belongs to, they will vote. That is why we don't have homogeneity in our politics. You will find the MPs DP, the chairman LC5 is FDC. Look at, for example, Jinja municipality. The MPs are NRM and FDC. The chairman is NUP. You have some DP somewhere. So there is no ideological grounding across the population and the leadership of the party. So whoever the people like, they will vote.
Good. And that is where Richard will start from. the individual merit, that hunger for individual merit, is it, they call it, they call it what? It is still roaming. It's still, while we are in multi-party dispensation and people subscribe to different properties, the concept of individual merit still rings in every election cycle.
And we talked about it last week. We said what is important in the election would be individual merit. And it has played out. That the other thing that we talked about was the importance of cementing in form, in practice, but also, most importantly, in the people's heads, the importance of cementing family continuity in political constituencies. The late Ben Chiwanuka,
Yeah.
we see his son. The late Dr. Obote, we see his son. The late Idi Amin, including even the grandchild, takes political office. The late Tito Okalo,
Yeah, he's in government.
absolutely takes. So
Son.
it is important, extremely important for you know who, that this practice, the late Nevanda,
Yeah.
the other one, he was called Mwesigwa of Busia. The late, who was the man who used to tell us, the Minister of State for Agriculture, he used to tell us that they have 6 degrees in his bed with his wife, Dr. Chiberege. I mean, yeah. It is important for some of the political players now that this perpetuation of family continuity in political spaces is cemented in the voter's mind. So,
Is it a good thing to you?
I would like to be told what is wrong with it.
Okay.
Because if the one who is taking over, he or she is competent,
Oh yeah.
and is selected by the rules, and is elected by the rules,
Yeah. That's the best line.
that for me is somebody should be capable and elected by the playing by the rules. Free, fair. I would otherwise be going against democratic principles if I stood against that. So that's one. So for me, it is rooting for free and fair election. It is very difficult in practice, especially when you are in these poor communities of ours, but also when you are in communities where power is still wielded by the gun and not the vote.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's where we should be. So the process of relatives taking over is increasingly taking root.
True.
But we can also see that even in the developed world, generally the leaderships are dynastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, even where the voting happens, there are certain families which never go away
From politics.
from very important positions. Yes, in politics. Even where the rules are free, apparent and fair. You see, free and fair, how do you even win? The networks on the ground. It's likely that your political parents have cultivated powerful networks on the ground because they have dispensed patronage. They helped Muaya to get a scholarship or his child. They helped my wife to get on the government board to go to be treated. They helped to recommend the other one for civil service. So those people come back and support. So that's that's an important consideration to think about. And usually because these people have been in positions of responsibility, power, they have resources
Yeah.
to dispense. So they become difficult to deal with. The other thing is when you are in the position of an NRM leader, I mean, I usually take like my constituency in Mbarara municipality, then Mbarara city, over time. all the candidates, whether independent or not, will be NRM leaning. So for you here at the top, the guys can fight. But for structural reasons, you will come and have the flag bearer. But even in private, you say that one is also our child.
Yeah.
So if they win, for you, in your numbers in parliamentary voting, in your debates, in what you have your numbers.
But Richard, the discontent in the NRM has been very, has been evident. If you watched the Secretary for Mobilization, Honorable Seninde, she was bitter in her speech. Even Dr. Tango Doi, they were bitter. I don't know if that discontent makes up for anything.
See, I go back to my constituents in Bara. The woman MP stood in the primaries, lost. But she was confident that she had the votes, that the Tanga Odoi group had mismanaged the process.
Oh.
So she wanted to be, what do you call it? Independent. And she became MP. But we can mention several other examples.
Yeah, there are many. There are several.
We know people who did not get the NUP become flag bearers. But they are members of parliament and they are opposition leaning now.
But what does that, what its impact to party cohesion and party growth?
My own view, which I have been propagating, is that we should have vehicles, and I don't mind changing them every election cycle.
Oh.
We should have vehicles of like-minded people. For me, that's what ideology is about. That you should be like-minded and moving towards a certain
direction,
objective. And you can come together. You can call it Rainbow Alliance or National, I don't know what. Rainbow, now you are spoiling it because you are also owning it, like no change, by certain groups.
Yeah.
But you can call it Umbrella or whatever you call it. As long as you are like-minded, you are moving towards a positive objective for the population. You want to get into position and deliver on that, and people associate with you, we can change vehicles every time. Because first of all, for me, when did the NUP start? Does that make it any weaker than the others which have been here for long?
Okay.
For me, I have no quarrel. And like I tell you, the NRM, when people tell me NRM, where is it? The offices of the national chairman are stronger and better resourced than the offices of the so-called party. You can't talk about cracking which whip. You can't crack what you don't possess.
I wanted to ask you what you expect.
No, you can't crack what you don't possess. No, you first possess the whip and then crack it.
So Tango Doi doesn't even possess a whip.
You see, if you get resources and you promise that you are going to deliver certain medicines to a certain health unit, and the medicines don't reach there, you have to prepare the people who you are account to why it was not done. Okay. But you also have to get an entire vice chair for the region saying what you did in your processes is fake. I'm not going to associate with it, and gets validated. Who with the quick whip or the whip?
On that note, I think even more you will tell us what you think.
But you also talked about the opposition.
I will come to that.
Yes.
What you think about this? I don't want to call it dissent within NRM. President Museveni. It's not actually the first time it is happening with the NRM party, and President Museveni is invited. Okay, the process to appoint a flag bearer is done, and then President Museveni is invited to campaign for a flag bearer. He spent there a whole day, and then the next day of election, his preferred candidate loses. I don't know what that means then to the chairman of the party. If it happens often, and the person who possibly wins the race is a person they would have co-opted during the nominations and choosing the process to choose the flag bearer. I don't know what you think that means to.
Before I answer that question, when he talked of the establishing family political kind of hegemonies, you asked the question, is it important? I think it is. I'll begin with that. And divert it slightly from his line of argument. Leaders have to be groomed through a process. And the chances are high that the son or daughter of a politician has, from the process of their growth or not, is more privy to the processes of leadership, is close to the processes of leadership. And this is okay. In America, we have had the Anjoas, we have the Kennedys, we have had the Clintons, the Bushes, trust me today, if Michelle Obama ran for any office, she would win with a landslide. Okay? That grooming is important. The problem we have with our leaders is that I have cried out loud on this for a very long time. We don't have a deliberate process of developing these leaders. People will pick on any form of politicking, become popular, and even those who came jokingly may end up in the office. Honorable, my friend Honorable Muma will excuse me, but the time he answered the vice president of the then vice president of the country, Specials Awandera Kazibwe.
Honorable Milton Muma.
Honorable Milton Muma. Everybody was saying, no, we should give this younger man, he goes and eats, okay? He has lasted the test of time. And he molded himself into a great legislator eventually. But for that would be important. Now, coming to the question of the party...
What it means to the party chairman.
The dissent and the party chairman.
When he is invited to campaign for a candidate and after one day, the candidate loses, and a candidate who has been picked by the system that he or she is fit to run that race.
I think the greatest humiliation for the chairman was Chadondo when Chagulanyi ran for MOP. After a lot of resources were involved and the chairman was there for not 1 but 3 days campaigning at the constituency, and this young man went and won at every polling station. I think it is a record. I have not heard of another MOP candidate who won every polling station when they have an opponent. Now, it goes to what Mr. Baguma is talking about, the internal processes. Once the internal processes are not clear, then you are likely to get that dissent too. The internal processes should help identify who is the stronger of the candidates.
That is my concern.
Who is the stronger of the candidates? Now, when the internal processes sideline a stronger candidate because trust me, even before the NRM flag bearer was elected, there must have been some kind of infighting between Tango Doi and Mike Mukula, because we have that desire to see who is the giant of the East, who is the giant of this area. We had the historical fight between the camp of the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga and the late Kirunda Kivejinja in Busoga, who is the giant of Busoga. Those fightings have always been there. Now, I started by saying that people don't vote NRM as a party. People will vote a strong NRM candidate. So first, the candidate must be a popular candidate with the people.
Yeah.
Then the party comes up to gloss the support. That's why sometimes parties will co-opt a person when they see that within the parties there is no person strong enough. A party like NRM can Gandhi opt a strong opposition candidate. They should have that deliberate, honest discussion within the party. Say, okay, these are the people we have. does any of them really stand a genuine chance?
And this case of Serere, both were members of the NRM.
That's the point.
But they didn't pick the stronger candidate and pick
because the stronger, the person who,
and now they are
the
fighting.
NRM Electoral Commission chairman, who has no business, by the way, campaigning for whoever the party has selected. His process should remain within the NRM internal. He's concerned with the internal processes of the NRM. Now, what is the policy on selecting flag bearers on the NRM, especially in by-elections? Because in the national general elections, we see there is Kayero organized. Okay. Now, in by-elections, we don't see this Kayero because the time is not there. The constitution limits the period within which a successor to a deceased or a resigned MP should be elected. So perhaps the time to organize a Kayero is not there. Now, what is the substitute established process of selecting a flag bearer? Now, when that is not there, this is likely to come up. And the party chairman support notwithstanding, once an unpopular candidate has been put there out to the people, then the people will go for the independent. Okay. What is different in this case is that the police brutality and the amount of effort put there is not the same when the likely winner is an NRM leaning independent, as in a situation where the likely winner is likely to be cut and clear opposition. Okay. So that is why we see that in Kayunga,
it was rough and
there will be that roughness more than it will be in Serere, because the groundwork will show that if the NRM bearer doesn't win, the more likely to win is a leaning NRM independent.
Good. I am also concerned about how, like, as we talk about party cohesion, how this person feels, who has been rejected by his own party, but he or she wins the race or the election, and then he comes back to the party because they are usually members of the party. He comes back to the party. Won't he feel maybe bigger than the party, or anyway, if he's allowed and co-opted? Anyway,
no, he will not feel bigger than the party. Like I said, sometimes those people being denied,
and we have them in parliament.
We have seen the example of Panado in Iganga.
The examples are very many. Salo Pendi in Tororo, Honorable Salo Pendi, and this Honorable
Mugema.
From Umbale, that woman MP.
Yes, please.
Galiwango Koni. There are very many examples, and I don't know how they now how they relate with the party after all this humiliation and
you see, the problem is always not the party. That influence is about specific persons within the party. So trust me, the win of Serere and the camp of Honorable Mike Mukola will be celebrating a victory over not NRM but over Tanga Odoi. And their issue will be with the Tanga Odoi, not with the party. So when they come back to the main fold, because trust me, with the election is as soon as he's sworn in, he will be strategizing for the next one. And if he's a stronger candidate and he gets the stronger party backing, his chances of coming back when he's in the party will be higher than if he came back as an independent again. So when they come back to the party fold, they will not grow wings, because their fight was never with the party, but with the particular elements
in the party.
Within the party.
Okay, finally, in just 1 minute, where do you think this election, Serere by-election, leaves the opposition? Will it be the same in the opposition? Because we usually had, we have often seen alliances between NUP and FDC, but this time, okay, it's not the first time, but now we see NUP now somehow moving away from FDC and looking at other allies. I don't know, and the laws. We saw Robert Sentam Chagulanyi on the podium now with Mugisha Muntu and Alaso, and we hoped Alaso, it was her time now to bounce back to. I don't know where it leaves the opposition. Just 1 minute.
There is no united opposition in this country. I have told you from the time of forming of the TDA that the TDA was an alliance against Besigye. It was not an alliance to bring an opposition candidate and so on and so forth. And I don't know how some of the wisest men in opposition then, people in opposition were always frustrated with Kanobe Kizza Besigye because of his magnetic pull of the crowd. So people like Honorable Norbert Mao, people like Honorable Betty Kamya, when they were still in the opposition, they developed a personal vendetta against Kizza Besigye because they were frustrated, because they could not be able to have the population adhere to them. I remember towards the 2011 election is in 2010, when we were having, towards the 2016 election is the reform, the electoral reform campaign. They started off no crowds. Once Besigye joined the campaign, grounds would be filled up and so on and so forth. So we don't have, like I said, there is no opposition ideological concept. What is the ideological link between the Alliance for National Transformation and the NOP as opposed to the ideological link between the DP and the FDC? We don't have political parties in this country. I should state it like this. We have big men. The party is only as strong as the big man on top of it. Because we have structures.
Which is dangerous.
Which is dangerous. Mugisha Muntu, Major General, when retired, when he was still in FDC, he sang the song of structures. And he told us he had that media frenzy of an honesty politician, and I stated it then that they are overhyping his honesty. Now, when he formed the party, less than a year later, he ran for president. What time had that party got to build the structures that he was singing about before they could front a presidential candidate? That is clear dishonesty. Now, there is no ideological link between NOP and the Mugisha Muntu. So the alliance is not an alliance of NOP and the National Alliance for Transformation. It is an alliance between Bobby Wine and Mugisha Muntu to support.
Not even.
Which in this case did not work. Why? What is the popularity of Bobby Wine as a person in this particular constituency? What is the popularity of Mugisha Muntu as a person in this? Yes, Alisa Alaso has been there and she has been in the background. That is the point. When these people lose elections, they forget about their political networks. So Alisa Alaso did not plan the death of. So she was not thinking of running for office at this time. Now, by the time you come and want to pick up your roles and so on and so forth, the ground is already shaky. So the opposition in Uganda is going to remain the way it was last year, and it is the same way it will be next year. And in fighting between the people for the limelight, there is no party structure. There are no party structures. Even in NOP itself, it has quickly got a national character, but it does not have structures on the ground. It is hard to draw a clear line between the NOP and the Bobby Wine, just as it is hard to draw a clear line between the Besigye and FDC, even when he's no longer the party president. Just like as the same thing Mao has tried to do with the DP, he was frustrated by other big men within the party. We see where it has ended up. So we have a contest of big men, not a contest of political parties in this country.
Where do you think this by-election leaves the opposition?
I think for me, one of the benefits they get from this is you remain relevant, you remain in the eye of the media, you remain in the discourse. In the discourse on social media, in the people. Because many times you need events You need occurrences to keep you.
Especially when you are not allowed to hold public gatherings.
And I'm coming to that. First, even when you are allowed, it can be difficult to get things that make you relevant.
Okay.
You'll hold the first thing, hold the next one, and you run out of gas. Yes. People will be used to those, and so sometimes it is useful to have these, and it is critical that you participate. So that is a benefit to them. And it's a loss if you don't participate. You get the platforms, you get talked about, we are discussing them now. The other thing is you experiment with
the voters, you know,
where
your support is.
Before even with the voters, you experiment with your colleagues. It's like when you are doing an experiment, you bring carbon monoxide and carbohydrates and what you mix them. What do they bring out? So you also start attempting to see what may happen if we start working together than if we are not. Sometimes it is the people who sponsor you that whisper to you that maybe in this case it might be useful. Sometimes it is that you do not have a candidate to place there. So it's only useful if you are also going to come and remain in the mind of the people in that constituency, that you ride on this one and say we have created an alliance. Because I think the alliance was not just between Noop and Ant. There was, I think, another one who said they are also, but we don't even remember them. But they were trying to remain relevant. So that's important. Now, where the individual merit and the personalities being bigger than the institutions, you could see it in the opposition play out in Serere. I don't remember how long Addis Alaso has been member of parliament previously, but I think it's a couple of years.
2 terms.
And then we know that people then lose. So even if it was not for now, probably she had played out her usefulness in that constituency. Yeah, because
I think then she was a woman MP, not even a constituency.
Not even a constituency MP. So sometimes these things, you see, the vice president lost a constituency after holding the constituency, including being minister. She did a clever thing and remained in the constituency and bounced back. I do not think that the Honorable Addis Alaso kept her feet in the constituency.
On the ground. No.
So she was from the beginning a weak candidate. But then the personality was such that and including what he was talking about, the most important man in the FDC, they said this is the one who will go. There probably was a stronger FDC candidate in Serere, but then the big personality plays out now, and they could not then agree. Which is not new. It is not new that the opposition group parties present different candidates in a by-election in one constituency. So they are likely to scatter their efforts and allow the ruling group. And finally, for me, Muaya raised a very critical point that there were minimal levels of visible violence in Serere. Just because the two leading contenders
were from the
same voting side in parliament. So the stakes for the people who controlled the means of violence were not that high and not necessary to deploy them.
Okay.